We always start with this. You heard this?
Grew up in the States.
Yeah.
Learned to hunt and fish. I fell in love with it along about 5 or 6. My old man taught me to shoot a gun. Granddaddy showed me how to cast one. It's in my blood, it's in my veins. A country boy, it ain't gonna change. I love the great outdoors. I thank the Lord for where I was born. Yeah, the great outdoors, it's where I'm at when I ain't here. Yeah, the great outdoors, that's where I'll be when I leave here.
There we go. Gravel Roads Radio Outdoors, episode number, I think we're on episode number 5. Not to be confused with Gravel Roads Radio. Those are the other guys, the pros, the varsity squad. It gets the waters get a little muddy because we just podcast under the Gravel Roads Radio umbrella because we don't know how to do it ourselves. So we have Steve do it for us. But Gravel Roads Radio Outdoors, Lars Anderson, no Dave Holland this week. He's off on a unforeseen prior engagement, prior commitment. I don't know what he's doing, but joined in studio by Mike and Larry Tormanen. How's it going, guys?
Great.
It's going good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, good. I need to start with an apology because we did the other Boundary Waters episode like a month ago at least. And right away, Larry reached out and said, you got to get my brother Mike on. He's been there like a ton. You know, I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. And then I didn't do it. And then a couple of weeks ago, he's like, you got to get my brother Mike on. He's been there a ton. Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So finally, here we are. Thanks for your patience and thanks for being here. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
I was doing some show prep, just kind of looking around online at different things and, mostly Google Maps. And then, people leave reviews for everything, Google reviews. I noticed people were leaving Google reviews for stuff in the Boundary Waters, campsites, lakes, the Boundary Waters.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd start with some Google reviews that I found.
Okay.
Some of these are pretty good. For example, campsite number 2309 got a 1-star review. Okay. This was just horrible. There were no Google map roads that we walked for days. I don't know what that guy was expecting, but no Google map roads walked for days.
You went to the wrong place.
Yeah, he got lost or something. If you're walking for days, I think you did something wrong.
Got bad advice.
Yeah, bad advice maybe. Campsite 861 also got a 1-star review. Terrible site. No fish, no firewood, windy. Good stop for a slice of vape cake and some Arco coffee, but otherwise best to move on. I don't know what vape cake is, but if you have that and Arco coffee, stop at campsite 861, I guess.
Skip that one.
Yeah, maybe skip that one.
Does it tell you what lake they're on?
No, some of these are reviews for lakes, but these are just campsite reviews. If you're on Google Maps and you search, BWCA campsite, just says BWCA campsite 876 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny. Speaking of campsite 876, I got a 5-star review from this guy. So it was only a 45-minute paddle from the outfitter and he got cell service, which as we all know, that's like the primary reason people go to the Boundary Waters, right? For the excellent cell coverage.
Get some work done.
Yeah. So if you need cell coverage, think about campsite 876 in the Boundary Waters. Campsite 928 got a 2-star review because there's too many people and bears. I don't know if that's too many people and too many bears or just too many people and some bears. Either way.
Usually you bring your own people. So
Yeah.
he didn't like his crowd.
He must sound like the people he brought with. Campsite 1024 got a 5-star review, but this guy says very secluded. Low water made it a hard 7-hour ride from Polly to Phoebe. So I looked this up. There's Lake Polly and Lake Phoebe.
Yeah.
And as the crow flies, they're about 5.5, maybe 6 miles apart, I think, if I remember right. 7 hours to go that far. That must have been some really low water.
Yeah.
Or inexperienced travel.
Well, it could be both. I mean, in their defense, it did, you start in the one lake and then there's like a little stream and there's some spots on the area where it looks like it could get a little low and marshy maybe. So maybe they just had to slog their way through that.
Yeah, that happens, especially late in the year when the water's low.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get out of the canoe and drag it.
That's a good point. I didn't look what time of year that review was. I guess you don't have to leave it that exact time, but 7 hours to go 6 miles. That didn't sound like much fun.
Not a good pace.
Not a very good pace. No, it's like a mile an hour. Kekekabek Lake, Kekekabek. Kekekabek?
But yeah, the nickname for that lake is Keck.
Oh, well, I got a 1-star review from this guy. It says, tried to kill me in a canoe. I don't want to go back.
That lake is actually pretty cool. It contains a subspecies of lake trout.
Really?
I think I got a picture in one in that.
I wonder if I put that picture in. I might have.
They're smaller, and I did do a day trip there, and we all caught Lakers.
Oh.
They weren't big, but they were kind of a neat color.
I'm impressed that you knew that lake just from the name of it. That's pretty good. There's several thousand lakes up there. Keck? Yeah, I heard that.
For whatever reason, I remember lakes, campsites, portages. Like I was there yesterday.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, even the very first trips.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. These next few reviews are about the Boundary Waters itself. If you are looking on Google Maps and it says BWCA on the map, you click on it, it brings up a little listing thing. This is a 1-star review. It says, they really need to do something about the mosquitoes. I'm sure that's high on the list of things the government is working on. Wonder what they can do for the rest of the week once they take care of that small problem.
Yeah, it's a big one.
This one's a 5-star review. It says, I've never been, but my friend says it's great. Too much portaging though.
But he gave a 5-star.
From somebody that's never been there. But they know it's too much portaging. Oh, that was funny. This one says, I got 2 more. This one says, the BWCA cured my hemorrhoids, but it also made lightning at me. So points off for that. I don't know what that's about, but this is my favorite one. It's a 1-star review for the Boundary Waters. It says, why? All caps, question mark, 4 exclamation points. Why would anyone deliberately go here and exhaust yourself canoeing only to set up camp and deal with bugs and rodents? Discovery Channel is cheaper and comes with a couch. Worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of those out there.
I'm guessing you guys don't. That has to be written by just an avid indoorsman. That review, someone that just is not a nature person.
No,
they should hook up with the no mosquito guy and just go watch TV somewhere inside. Maybe
you don't want them kind of people up there anyway.
No. I'm guessing you guys don't share that worst experience of my life sentiment.
I don't.
I do have one story. We went up. There was a group of 4 of us, me, a couple of my kids, and John, and a couple of his kids, and then brother-in-laws Randy and Greg. And I think we went in on Peterson Lake, and we're looking for a site and couldn't find one. And we went to Burnt and ended up in Smoke. And Randy and Greg pulled in and they found a really sweet site. And then we were looking for a site, and we saw a site on the map, but we couldn't find it. We were looking and it looks like, I don't know where this site is. Well, it's got to be here. It's the red dots on the map. So we kind of went into the weeds and climbed up, and sure enough, there's this crappy little site almost in a swamp. No big trees around, just kind of swampy. And it was the worst Boundary Waters trip we ever had. The mosquitoes were so bad, you couldn't hardly stand still.
Yeah.
I caught 0 fish that trip, which was the first time ever. I had one on and lost it. I think total we probably caught less than 10 between all of us. So the fishing was terrible. The mosquitoes were horrendous, and the site was the worst site. I would have given that a 1.
Should have left it a review.
And a 1 would have been generous.
Yeah.
So I have had a bad experience, but that wouldn't keep you away. I mean, you go back because the brother-in-laws on the other side of the lake, they had a great time. Their site was perfect, no bugs. And it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sites make a huge difference.
I kind of gathered that just looking at, the reviews and stuff, some people, a lot of things got mentioned multiple times. People are talking about the tent pads being at an angle or whatever, or if the landing for a canoe was good or bad, that type of deal.
Yeah.
Bugs was a big one too. A lot of people mentioned bugs. But
views and the kind of that smooth rocks that you see on the shoreline. Those are really nice exposed where you can go and sit and fish. And the campsites to me, they can be a big difference maker.
Sure,
in that experience.
I can see that. Larry, how many times have you been up there?
I'd say around 15.
15. Okay, so you've been there a bunch. Mike, when Larry reached out, he said he thought maybe you were getting maybe close to 100. Do you have a number?
That is the number I use. It's around 100.
Around 100 times, 100 trips to the Boundary Waters.
Yeah, it's. I was thinking about that. I used to log all my trips, and I don't know what I did with my log. And I had, who I went with, how long they were, and they vary. Longest trip I think was 21 days. A lot of week long trips.
You're answering all my questions here, which is great.
Yeah,
you have to ask them.
And so, first trip was in '79. With the Boy Scouts. And
wait, how old were you?
79. I would have been 14.
Okay.
So that was my introduction. And just when I think about the number, there's some years I made 4 trips up there. Some years I didn't make it, my Navy years. And so you just do the math. It's been a bunch, and it's been, some of those were day trips or some were camping on the edge, like at Sawbill or like Fall Lake Campground. Yeah. It's still Boundary Water day trips, but it's been definitely my passion.
Yeah. So you're looking at a couple trips a year, at least for decades.
Yeah. And we did 5 winter trips. Larry was on some of those, and those were crazy cool. So, it's been a journey. And I think the most fun I've had is sharing it with other people, especially my kids.
Yeah.
And they all fell in love with it. And, so it is definitely something our family is tied into.
Yeah. What was your first impression when you went up there as a 14-year-old?
Well, that was, so I was kind of more of a senior scout at the time. Didn't have any idea what it was. And back in the 70s, the Boundary Waters was quite different. They had all the portages were marked. So they had a nice post with the portage and the rod count on
the length of it.
Yep. And any portages that had, a steep climb in it or something like that, they had canoe rest for you to take a break. And they took all that stuff out shortly after that.
Why? It seems like that'd be helpful, but
I think that's part of when they made it part of the national forest, officially the Boundary Water Wilderness Area.
Yeah.
Which I think happened in '78. There was a big push to make it as natural as possible. Oh, and so people saw that as maybe a little bit too townish.
Too civilized to have a sign that says steep hill.
or get out here to get to the next lake. Right. So, but my first impression, I was more just kind of in survival mode, just trying to figure stuff out. We had, kind of scout routines, right? We had, and I had kids I had to take care of. And there was this lake, and just for an example of my role on that trip, there's a little skinny lake called Swallow Lake. It's south of the Gunflint by Gaskin Lake. Super short, and you could almost cast across it. And we had to do multiple trips. So I was waiting for some kids to come across, and so I took out a rod and boom, got a northern. I mean, literally on every cast. And these other kids, I mean, you would just dangle like a daredevil right on the shore, and you'd be pulling in these northerns just one after another. It was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But we got back to camp. We kept some fish, and so I was going to teach the kids how to flay a fish. And the scout master that was in my group, John was on this trip with another group and a scout master, and so I was going to teach him how to flay, and he's like, no, you do all that. So I ended up being like camp worker guy, and then, so obviously we caught a lot of fish that trip, and we weren't, I would say skilled fishermen. We're
Sure.
a bunch of kids. And, but we had passed John's group, I think on Winchell Lake, kind of midway through the trip. And he was with his scoutmaster. So he was in the front of that canoe, and we were next to each other, but we were close enough to, communicate and
Sure.
wave. And he kind of reached over the side of the canoe on the backside, and he lifted up this 14-pound northern. I mean, it was, and for me, it was just like, wow, that was the biggest thing I'd ever seen. So, so that trip finished. It was a week long, and then Mike Reisenen came up and joined John and I, and then Dale, who was with John's group. And we did another trip over on the Ely side. We went into Mudrow and did a 4-town ferry gun lake loop. And on that trip, we had bears in our camp, which is pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I absolutely, we were going down the Moose River, and there's literally moose, just eating in the grass.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a park.
Yeah.
Which again, it's been quite a while since we've seen moose up there like that, like in the old days. So I absolutely fell in love with it. I bought a canoe and haven't stopped since.
Yeah. You just keep going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Larry, when was your first trip up there?
That's a good question. I was thinking back when that was. I was too young to join them during those Boy Scout outings up in the Boundary Waters.
Mhm.
And after that, the Boy Scouts never went up there as long as I was involved in scouting. But I think, was that Tuscarora? Remember that trip?
Oh, yeah. That's got the portage.
Yeah, that was
a mile-long portage that's up and down. And
was Jess and Sam with us on that trip, or was that a different one?
they were on one of them. I've been there multiple times, but I'll say one thing about Tuscarora and Larry. If that was your first trip, I don't know, but that portage is a killer.
Oh, yeah.
It's long, it's over a mile, and it's up and down and around and mucky. And they actually, the outfitter that sits on that entry point, they sell T-shirts. I survived.
Sure.
One of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Larry did it nonstop. I was proud of him.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I was just trying to keep up. It's like, well, I can't stop.
You don't want to be the weak link.
No, I
stopping.
I got to grind through this.
I was impressed.
Yeah. Do you have favorite spots that you like to go to? You've been, or do you like to try to see a new spot most times? Or
that's a great question. I personally, I have many favorite spots, but I love exploring new stuff too. So I kind of mix with that. And I know that's not true for everybody. I remember when we were living out here, one of the elementary school teachers, there's a bunch of those guys, Jim Ponsford and others, they went to the Boundary Waters every year. They went the same week.
Tim Paulson.
Yeah, they stayed in the same campsite.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you're missing out on so much.
There's a lot of other campsites that they're not seeing.
It was just, it kind of blew my mind, but they just got into routine.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him at a parent teacher conference, and I wasn't really shaming him, but I was thinking, you really should try. And he's like, so I said, well, what would you suggest? And I said, well, if you guys are healthy and you feel up to it, I would try to get to Stewart Lake. And he said, it's a lot of work. And if you go, you're going to be halfway down that first portage thinking, what on earth was I thinking? One of those kind of deals.
Yeah.
But I sold him big on it because it's just a beautiful lake. It's very quiet. The fishing's fantastic. And I saw him like the next year and I said, hey, he goes, yeah, we made it. And I said, well, how was it? And he had this huge smile on him. And he's like, it was a lot of work getting there, but I'm an early riser. And so I got up before the other guys and so I was fishing right offshore, right on the campsite. And so one of the other guys gets up and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" It's pretty good. And he goes, "I just smiled and I pointed." He said, "I made a little live well and it was just full of walleyes."
Awesome.
So that was one. And then the other cool experience that I've never had that he had. So there's on Stewart Lake, the Stewart River flows into Stewart Lake, flowing north. And there's, in the spring, there's some nice water flowing through there, and there's some big rocks, and it's very scenic. And he said they were paddling down in that bay at the end of the lake, and there was a wolf sitting on top, sleeping, kind of resting. And then as they got closer, it kind of stood up, or on his front paws, and started howling.
Oh, geez.
Oh boy.
I mean, it was just like right out of a movie.
Yeah, that is right out of a movie.
And I will say, for people that haven't been there, and I know, like Larry described, like the 1-star experience, and you can have those for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what you're going to get, but that's actually the beauty of the Boundary Waters. Every trip is different.
Yeah.
And you experience things you never even thought about before. And that's a good example of that. So I always look forward to, you just never know.
Yeah. Well, that was one of my questions for you guys, is going up there, does it ever start to get repetitive? Like, you've been here so many times, but it kind of sounds like that's not so much the case.
I would
Like,
say
you've never found
No, not
yourself
really.
thinking this is getting kind of old or kind of boring.
No.
Yeah.
I think, the only thing that gets kind of old and boring is the wind is always in your face. So it doesn't matter when you're going or where you're going, you'll have headwind.
The wind is in your face. Yeah.
That's kind of,
I remember a GRR episode, I think with with Ryan and some of those guys were talking about their Boundary Waters. And I think they were talking about kind of hunkering down in the campsite and reading a book. And that's not how we do the Boundary Waters. When we go up there, it's about fishing.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
100%.
we're fishing. You get up, you eat, you're fishing.
You go fishing.
You eat lunch somewhere on the shore, you keep fishing, you come back and eat. Maybe, hopefully it's light to clean fish, but
mostly not. It's usually dark by the time.
yeah.
And I will say that's been a consistent, no matter who I've gone with and when. The hunker time around the campsite is really restricted to when the weather's so rough you can't get out there.
When you can't get on fish, yeah.
But I do have a funny story that I actually share pretty often, because it really kind of shows what the Boundary Waters is about related to fishing. And I planned this longer trip into Quetico. So you start in the Boundary Waters and you end up in Canada. And I went to this lake called Kanipi, and I'm telling you, that was just unbelievable. And anyway, the trip that I went, the guy I went with was Brian Kivistow, and he, I'd never camped with him. I did a lot of camping, with the Kivistows and their family, winter and summer, a lot with Paul. But I never really camped with Brian, and we were just kind of like talking about the trip and just planning, food and whatever. Yeah. And he's like, he goes, "Yeah, I heard you like to fish a lot." It's like, "Oh yeah."
Now you got me going.
Yeah. He goes, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, that's one of the big reasons I go."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I just want you to know that I don't mind fishing, but I like hunkering around the campsite too. So I don't want to just fish every day." And, so he's just kind of prepping me, right? Yeah. And guess what happened?
He fished the whole time.
I'd say either he fished the whole time or you went your separate ways and he sat by the fire.
I forgot to get that picture. We fished till dark every day.
Awesome.
And it was just, I'll share one. I'll share probably the coolest experience on that trip with Brian. And he was so funny. He just, man, that guy's got a third lung and 3 legs, because he can, man.
Just booking it
nonstop.
He is just a motor. But we were trolling. We were headed down into this bay, and he didn't have, I would say, top shelf fishing equipment. He kind of had a closed face reel, plastic gears, and so he's up in the front of the canoe, and he gets one, right? So we stop, and usually I just reel in, and let him land his fish. And it's like, oh, any size to it? And he's like, no, not really. He's just kind of reeling it up. And, the momentum of the canoe always feels bigger at first and it kind of slowed down. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute, and it started taking out drag. Yeah. And he's cranking on and it's just grinding. He's like, and his rod's bent in half and he gets this fish up to the boat and it's a monster northern that ate the first northern he caught.
Oh, no kidding.
So he had this, sure it was, probably 15 pounds or more, definitely in the 35-inch range, something like that.
Yeah.
But he had half of that original northern down his mouth and he gets it up to the boat and the line snapped.
No.
But the fish was sitting right next to me alongside the canoe.
Yeah.
I reached down and I grabbed it.
Did you grab it with your hand?
Grabbed it. And he took a picture, and it's a cool picture. I'm holding both northerns like this, the big one and the little guy, which is, it's kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
But so then the little northern, he's probably a couple pounds, whatever, 2-3 pounds, and
just a minnow.
It was all mangled.
Yeah.
So we chuck it out the back of the canoe, and let the big guy go, and we start paddling, and this bald eagle comes in right behind us and
takes that little
picks
one.
Up, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, never said thank you either.
Yeah,
free meal.
Yeah,
yeah. But that was fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had that happen once when I was fishing it just at a lake somewhere. I don't remember where. It might have been on the Iron Range, but reeling in a small northern, and same thing. I got off right at the dock and just sat there on the water, like at the top, flap. So I just reached down and grabbed it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't 48 inches. It was, that.
Yeah.
Funny.
I got an eagle story too. So I was up there with my brother John, his son Levi, and my brother John's boss. This was a fall trip in October, which is a great time of the year to go, by the way. Nobody up there.
No bugs.
No bugs. And you're kind of rolling the dice on the weather. But if you check the forecast, it can be an awesome experience. But we were catching a lot of fish and there were eagles hanging around in trees nearby. So we thought, well, why don't we, take a smallmouth and just kind of stun it or kill it and throw it out there and see what happens. Sure enough, we did that. And one of the eagles came down and nabbed it.
And came down.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sweet. Speaking of October, permits opened on Wednesday. Did you guys get your reservations in, or?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, it's actually, it's kind of it's a new thing, right? Because
I don't know. Is it? You tell me.
Well, it never used to be that competitive. And, but it's kind of the time of year, kind of in the middle of winter, and you kind of gets the juices flowing. It kind of forces you to start thinking about maybe the coming year. And so it's definitely a thing. It's fun to watch, but it is it's crazy how quick those permits go for all the premium entry points, and there are very clear entries that people want, and they want it for a reason.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say, what makes it a premium entry point?
The access to the specific lakes so Mudrow Lake, which gets you into Horse and Foretown area, which is fantastic. The Moose River gets you up into Lake Lac LaCroix. Gabbro Lake, which is an easier access but beautiful area, with some rapids and waterfalls. All those, literally within minutes are just they're gone.
Yeah.
For like Memorial Day, Liberty weekends.
For the busy weekends. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And some premium spots like Stewart's a hard lake to get to, but they only let one party in a day.
Oh.
And so you really, if you really are targeting an area in the Boundary Waters that has a lot of interest and restrictions in terms of quantity, then you really need to plan ahead.
That's kind of crazy that it's gotten that. Well, I guess some of them are, maybe all of them are limited, like you said, X amount of permits a day, but it's kind of wild that it's gone to a lottery system almost, where you have to, like I was reading about that online as I was doing some, show prep or whatever. People were saying on whatever forum, I logged on right away on Wednesday at 9 a.m. or whatever. And didn't get my spot. You know, it's like,
no, it's,
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because, it is,
you can't be spontaneous.
no. If you
have
want
to plan ahead.
Yeah. You can in October.
Sure.
So that's
when nobody's fighting for it, but
kind of like visiting a national park now. You can't just pop in.
Yeah.
Unless it's early in the morning, and maybe I think
the big ones are really hard to be spontaneous.
What how many permits do they issue at I'm trying to think how I want to say this. Whatever like the most popular spot is, how many permits do they issue for that day? You know what I mean? That you know of. Like 10 permits a day for a
4-ish?
Or is it not that many?
It's all dependent on how many campsites are in that route. So you can have a really popular route that only has one entry, and they're all gone for the season. And so it's not really. They try to control the numbers, which I think is helpful because I do have some stories around you have a plan and there's no campsites available. And
then what?
We ended up, so on a trip down the Isabella River, we ended up, our first day paddle was 21 miles.
Whoa.
So
first day
is I don't know if you were on that.
No.
My brother Jess was there with some of his friends and like Sam Niemela. And
it's like paddling from here to Hutch.
It was a long day, but I had planned. It was a new area. I hadn't been there. There's a little lake called Quagda Lake in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's literally in the middle of nowhere, and it's off the river. Is a portage, and it's a little bit north. There's 3 campsites on there, so that was my target lake. I did a little scouting on what the fish were in there and stuff. So we were going to go there. We get there and they're all taken, and it's a long hole from Quagda into Bald Eagle Lake. And even the campsites going down were all taken. The ones that were close in on Bald Eagle on the Isabella Road taken. So it was a 21-hour or 21-mile day. And so that can happen too.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Best laid plans don't always work.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about, how you plan and prepare for a trip. But maybe it depends on who you're going with and how long you're going for. But you just, either it's a spot you're going to that you've been to and you already kind of know where to go and what to do, or it's a new spot and you're just looking at, where's the best point to put in and what the portages are going to be in like. And I mean, how long does the planning process take? Let's say you're going to somewhere new. How long would you think it would take you to get a pretty good feel for what you could expect?
I'm a planner by nature.
Okay.
So I love to travel, so when I graduated from high school, I started traveling. I went to Arizona, California, Washington, visiting family, joined the Navy to see the world, which I did. And I haven't stopped. And so the whole planning process to me is almost as fun as the trip.
Sure.
Which might be kind of weird. So it depends. And I think any extended trips, I spend a lot more time. I look at portages and then, day trip options. I think the one trip that worked out just amazingly well, and we spent a ton of time. In fact, I was roommates with Steve Reinen, and we were going to go with Larry and his brother Dan to Europe together. They ended up going to Europe. Steve and I ended up going into Quetico for 21 days. But we had on my bedroom wall, I had all the maps hung up on the wall, and I would just stare at that for hours, dream about where to go. So we kind of set some guidelines. We paddled 120 miles that trip in 21 days.
21 days.
We stayed in every campsite that we went to, except for the first and last day. We stayed 2 days. So we didn't want to go and move every day.
Yeah.
But that was amazing. We caught, and so we logged everything, and we only counted fish that we landed and let go ourselves.
Okay.
So, and we had over 750 fish that trip.
What?
and I'm sure we lost that many or more. We saw 7 bear, 7 moose, We had just like bats and just all kinds of really cool stuff. Owls, just, it was such a fun trip. And from a planning perspective, so you think about food.
That was my biggest question when you're going for a long time. Are you banking on catching some fish? Or?
Well, there's two things we were banking on: fish and firewood.
Yeah.
Right. So cooking, you're not going to bring fuel for stoves and stuff like that. And so we got up there, and they had a fire ban in effect. And like, man, okay,
sushi.
This is a problem.
No.
And so we're a little skittish about that, but we're way up in the middle of Quetico. It's like how big of a problem is this going to be to have a campfire?
Yeah.
Right. And so
just a little one.
Yeah. Just a small one. Yeah.
But it
turns into a big one.
Yeah. We had 14 fish meals on that trip. But we ate well every night or every day and every morning. And we came out with, I had like a pound bag of rice kind of as a backup.
Emergency.
Yeah.
That's all I came out with. We ran out of drink mix, probably on day like 19. But other than that, it worked out pretty good. You start with good food early on.
Yeah, sure.
You're making bush pasties with real potatoes and carrots and stuff. But then you're getting the back end of the trip. You're doing a lot of pancakes and dehydrated foods and stuff like that. But
show up for a 21-day trip and you can't start a fire because of a fire ban or something.
Yeah, well, there's a funny story that happened there. We were up on Sturgeon Lake, and if you look on the map, it looks like in the middle of nowhere. And we had made a fire, made breakfast, and cleaned up camp, and we were loading our canoes. And there's this canoe just barreling straight at us. Like, I'm thinking they want our campsite or something. And didn't really think much of it, but they were pumping hard. And they get there, and it's two gals, and they're part of the Canadian Rangers.
Really?
Want to check permits and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh shit, we're in trouble.
This is bad.
And we're down by the lake, so we're not up at the camp because our canoe's loaded, and we're just visiting. And they look at us, it's like, the fire, just because we got a little bit of rain, yesterday or the day before, the fire ban's still in effect. Oh yeah. And so we see, well, we're gonna stay and just clean up the campsite. And so we got in our canoe and we paddled as hard as we could.
Just take off.
Figured they couldn't catch us with nothing else.
Yeah. In case they decided to, in case they learn the truth and try to chase you.
Do some enforcement.
Gone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Have you ever run into Minnesota park rangers or anything up there? DNR people, or I don't know who patrols that, I guess.
Yeah. But not often.
Yeah.
I have twice.
Have you? Like out in not like at a put in or anything, but
yeah, it was close.
okay.
Well, one time was when we were camping at Sawbill. So that's not in the Boundary Waters, a Sawbill campground, but you can paddle to the other side of the lake and you are in the Boundary Waters.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, we did a little day trip to Beth Lake to do some fishing. And I think Greg Hoodery, I think he was the only one, I think, who pulled kind of a self-issue day permit to do that.
He followed every rule perfectly, and he's the only one that got pulled over.
And we saw these people coming, and I thought, oh crap, and they pulled Greg over and said, keep going.
I didn't see that.
Nope. Here we go. All right. So we got kind of lucky there. And the other time we were on a portage, heading to our favorite lake. And have you ever heard of getting a tow? So that's a thing that you can pay for to get you to where you want to go a lot faster than paddling. So typically you pay an outfitter to give you a boat ride to say, your first portage or to a different point towards where you're trying to go. So we got a tow from an outfitter on our way to Birch Lake, which is, I would guess that's probably my family's favorite lake because we've always had such great luck fishing there.
Great spot.
So we had a tow going to Birch Lake, and then that first portage before you get in there where you get dropped off, we unloaded, and then the ranger came shooting from the other side and checked our permit and stuff. And we were all legal, so it was good.
It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, he just kind of showed up. It was kind of.
I had I feel like somebody's looking over me because I dodged a bullet on one trip. This is on Horse Lake, which is also, I think, a family favorite. I know John loves that lake too. And I was bringing, this is a girls trip. So it was my wife, who hasn't been up there a bunch, but she loves it. And so we got into Horse, and I got my little girls, and I think Nathan might've been on that trip, and every campsite on that lake was taken. And I'm like, man. And there was a kayaker, a solo kayaker going in at the same time. Well, he nestled in this bay. He just made a little spot, which you're really not allowed to do.
You're not supposed to do that, right? You're supposed to be at an actual campsite.
Oh yeah. Okay. They would frown on that. Yeah. And there was this point on the east side of the lake. It was just a beautiful spot with big pine trees. Looks like a campsite. Well, we made it one. and speaking of mosquitoes, by the way, the mosquitoes were so bad that night. My little girls, I had a 4-man tent that I used that trip. And so was my wife and I, my 2 little girls. Both girls were laying in the tent with their hands over their ears. It sounded like we were in an airport.
Because the mosquitoes are so loud?
It was so loud.
Really?
But anyway, the next morning we get up, and the kayaker guy, he had broke camp when we were, just kind of eating breakfast or whatever. And, friendly feller. And he's like, man, looks like you got a nice setup. You should just stay. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do that.
Not doing that.
And so Hannah and one of my other daughters, they paddled across the lake. There's like 3 campsites on the northeast side there. And they just asked, if any of them were leaving. And there's this one, it might be one of the most beautiful campsites, for sure, top 10. They were leaving. So we loaded everything up, and we took off for their campsite. And that was such an awesome spot. The next day, 2 rangers pull into our campsite to replace a toilet. Like we would have been on that.
You would have been on that point. If we stayed where you're not supposed to.
We probably would have.
What would happen if they caught you? Would you get a fine, or would they just say you have to leave, or do you know?
Yeah, it probably depends on who you get.
Yeah,
but I would say for sure you'd be scolded. Maybe they could certainly kick you out. They could stop you from getting permits in the future. I mean, I don't know how serious it would be, but
yeah,
I'm not much of a rule breaker, so
yeah,
I felt pretty good about it.
Shoot. Do you guys have your gear systems kind of figured out by this point? You're not like buying stuff that you still need. I mean, I would imagine you had yours figured out decades ago. Maybe replace a tent or something once in a while, but
yeah, that's for people who tent.
Well, I did see some hammocks in your pictures here.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking, like, what would people care about? But the evolution of equipment is actually pretty significant.
Oh, I'm sure.
And you think about all your different categories of camping gear, right? So you need shelter, you need cooking stuff, you need water stuff, early on, the gear wasn't really that good anyway, but you got those really thin foam pads, and that all kind of evolves, and you got thermarests that are a little thicker and maybe roll up a little smaller. But on the sleeping category, John was definitely first going into a hammock kind of system, and that once you go into a hammock, you don't go back.
Oh yeah, that's the way to go. Huh?
It is, yeah. But to be fair, for a lot of the middle years that I went, I'm taking kids, and it's nice to go and wake up with your kids in the tent and tell stories at night and all that stuff. So, but I think at this stage, hammocks are just top notch. But like water, I did get Giardia 3 times.
Oh boy, what's that?
There. Have you heard of Giardia?
Beaver fever.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
it's a parasite.
Yeah. So, treating water, I mean, as clean as the water looks and as clear as it, I mean, beaver fever is real. It's just a cyst that you get if you consume it, and it's heavier than water. So in theory, if you take a drink of water out of the lake, away from shore, you're fine. But I was like in a stream, drinking water, which is and basically you get the runs once a month until you treat it, kind of thing. But early treatment was you'd get these iodine tablets, right? And you'd shake it and let it sit in there for a while. And then you get some of these hand pump filters, and you need a Popeye forearm to get a quart of water. But but now like an inline gravity bagged water system is absolutely amazing. You just fill up the bag and you just fill up your bottles and cooking stuff and that. So I think just back to your question on gear, I always looked at it like you just keep upgrading whatever system needs some help. Yeah. Right. And so I started with aluminum canoe, they're heavy and, whatever. And then I went to a Royal X canoe, which is lighter, a little bit more flexible and stuff like that. And now I'm in a Kevlar canoe. Yeah. And it's the same with your packs and other things. I have insulated packs for, food and stuff like that. So I just try to improve one of my components every year. Yeah. And so now I feel very well outfitted with gear, but it takes time. Did you
ever go through an outfitter for gear? Like when you were first going up there, or did you just start with what you had and add to it?
I don't think I've done some partial outfitting. So let's say I needed a canoe because we had more guys, then we'd get a canoe from an outfitter. I'm trying to think I don't
remember getting gear from an outfitter. Did you for the Boy Scout trip? Did you?
No, we had our Boy Scout tents, those canvas,
big old heavy things.
Yeah.
Not fun to portage.
Yeah, those would be fun to carry.
Yeah. Nope. I've used outfitters for permits, for maybe canoes, supplementation, and sometimes food. Yeah. Or bait. That kind of thing.
Sleeping in their bunkhouse the night before.
Bunkhouse, staging. That's helpful. Yeah. So you get up there and you get a hot meal and get you on the road.
When you're on the last Boundary Waters episode, Mike Koivisto was saying that he's kind of a maps guy. He likes to do the planning with paper map, and actually, are you a paper map guy or digital navigation guy, or what?
I love the paper map. Yeah. Yeah. I
fold it up and put it in a Ziploc and have it right in front of you as you're going.
I have a little map case that sits right in front of me, so you can kind of keep track of where you're going and looking for landmarks.
But I mean, you must have a bunch of different maps, or what? The Boundary Waters is pretty big.
I got a bin.
I don't think you have a map that's big enough.
No, it's a bin, and there's multiple versions. There's really 3 different map makers for the Boundary Waters. And,
oh really?
Oh yeah. So you got Fisher, Voyager, and who's the other one? But yeah, there's so if you were to buy a map and they break the Boundary Water sections out differently. And so some, one map company might be better for a trip than another. But yeah, I would say even if you've been to an area, several times, it's really nice to have a map. Cause finding portages and stuff like that to go on day trips to lakes or, on your route can be hard. And,
I don't know how you could do it without a map.
It would be really hard.
Unless you got a photographic memory. I don't think too many people could do that.
I was looking at, on Google Maps and stuff, and it seems like if you don't know what you're doing, you could just about get lost pretty easily.
You could.
For
sure.
I mean, there's so many little, number one, different lakes. Number two, it always looks different when you're there, right? Yeah. And you go around this point and you think it's that one and type it in.
Yeah. That looks all the same. It's like,
and it all looks the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on the angle you're looking at, it doesn't always make sense. So I'm always referencing that. And I can say there's times I'm not exactly sure, where I'm at. There was one time on a 21-day trip, I told Steve, I said, I honestly don't know where we are. we're on this lake called Heronshaw. That's where we did some cliff jumping. I sent a picture of that, and that was an amazing bass lake. They had a forest fire, and so all the trees were kind of in the lake, and it was just
a lot of structure
loaded with fish. So, but yeah, I kind of sat. It took me. I mean, obviously we figured it out, but you kind of get a panicky feeling.
Yeah, it's got to be a little unnerving.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was the only time I really kind of got shook up on where are we?
That's the one thing you don't want to be is lost.
Yeah. Yeah. In a place where there's thousands of acres around you and you hardly ever see people. Probably a good idea.
Yeah. There was on that trip for sure. Cause I know there were, there's a stretch where you didn't see people for at least 2 days, like anybody. And on some days that you saw somebody, it might've been just one canoe on the other end of a lake kind of passing through or something. So yeah, no, you want to be prepared for sure.
Yeah. Do you prefer to go up there any time of year? I mean, I know you said October is sweet. Is that your favorite for sure? Later? September? Okay.
Yeah. October can be, like if I could pick
nice or nice sun.
Yeah. It's such and even September can be like, I remember one trip with John, I had a picture holding a nice smallie. I had no shirt on in the sun, just feeling great. And then we got snow that trip.
Oh yeah.
So it can change. The weather can change just like that up there. Yeah. And so you really, like I said, you got to be prepared to have layers and
prepared for almost any kind of weather. Yeah.
But, just thinking about October on Birch Lake, which is Larry mentioned is one of our favorites. I got a really cool picture of my two younger boys. We're just kind of fishing shorelines and they both, doubles are kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right. And they're both holding a nice largemouth bass with snow falling in the background. I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
Bass fishing in the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
So if I could pick, I would say mid-August to mid-October. It would be the ideal time. Spring trips are fun because you got spring life, but it's still kind of cool and rainy. And it's a different experience, but my preference would for sure be
late summer, fall.
Late summer, early fall. Yeah. Less people and better weather.
Yeah. The water's still warm enough to swim and the bugs are pretty much gone. Fishing's still good. And that's for sure my favorite.
Yeah. Have you taken any solo trips?
No. In fact, when I bought that Royal X canoe, it was a Mad River Eclipse, which is like a 16.5-foot canoe, a little bit shorter, with the idea, John and I were he wanted to do a solo trip. And the idea was he was going to start in Ely. I was going to start on the Gunflint. And we were going to meet in the middle.
Sure.
And then we would drive each other's car,
Yeah.
But that never happened.
Never happened.
I guess they started having kids and they kept going.
Yeah. Yeah, still could.
Still good. I don't know if my wife would go for that.
Does the idea of a solo trip appeal to you or not really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of things that would resonate with me on that. It would definitely be unique. And, I think it'd be a little bit of a test. Just, I think being alone by yourself is a whole different.
Yeah.
program.
I mean, either it's something that interests you or it doesn't, right? Like when my dad biked to the UP, he had other people that had, maybe said they would maybe go with him or something like that. But he's like, nope, I want to go by myself because then I'm not beholden to anyone. I can,
my own pace.
Yeah. He said, if I want to stop on a bridge and look at the river for 3 hours, I want to be able to do that and not worry about anyone,
I almost went on a solo trip, actually because of Larry. We had planned an October trip to Seagull Lake off the Gunflint.
Okay.
And so we're all set to go. And Larry calls me and I think you hurt your wrist playing hockey or something.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Old Bucks
Was
gets
that-
pretty feisty.
No,
Was I in high school?
Jess was 10.
Yeah, so I broke my wrist in high school playing hockey.
Yeah. You did something with your wrist and you're like, Mike, I can't go. And I'm like, crap. So I'm like, well, I'm going.
Yeah.
So I went out to the farm and, to get the canoe. My canoe was there and I'm loading up all my stuff. And Mom's like, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to the Boundary Waters. And she's like, by yourself? I was like, well, Larry got hurt. Like, well, she goes, you can't go by yourself. And I'm like, well, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I literally was loading up for just me. And Mom's like, I don't think you should do that. And she's like, why don't you take Jess? And he's literally, he's 10.
Yeah.
And his eyes got big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was like, Mom, that's like the dumbest idea ever.
How old were you at this point?
So I was mid-20s.
Okay.
And I said, so if something happens to me, you're going to lose 2 sons because Jess ain't going to be able to help me.
Yeah. He's not going to really do it.
He's not going to. She goes, I would just feel better if you brought him. And so it's like, okay. And he, I think he absolutely loved it. It was cold. It never got above freezing.
Oh, geez.
Oh boy.
But he still loved it as a 10-year-old.
He was, yeah. And I'm surprised he's still nice to me because going across Seagull, we had just a gnarly headwind. We had to get across this bay because you can usually hide behind islands and stuff as you move along.
Yeah.
And I'm literally yelling because I need him to paddle. And he doesn't really have a whole lot of pull at that age, but you got to give me something. Mm-hmm. And he would say, it was an eagle. I'm like, no. So I'm literally just yelling at him. We get to the campsite and we found a spot, nice spot. I said, okay, Jess, I said, I'm going to get camp set up, get the tent going, get everything set up. I need you to go get some firewood. So he disappears and we're on an island and he's gone for quite a while. And he comes back with like 2 little sticks. And he's talking 100 miles an hour about all the stuff he saw. And I'm like, he couldn't zip up his life jacket. But
babysitting.
Yeah. But he had a blast. We caught a really nice lake trout on the way back and the snow was coming down, this huge, no wind, just like this slow, big flakes. Got to the car. There probably was, 3-4 inches of snow on our car. It was a beautiful trip. It was super fun. And I think he really appreciated that. But I guess I'd blame him for not being on a solo trip.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's him or Larry's fault. One of the two. Yeah. Or maybe your mom's, but.
Was that his first trip?
That was his first.
I was going to ask, was that his first trip?
That was his first. Yeah. And I brought him on others too. And obviously now he's just an amazing fisherman, that guy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he is.
Now that you mentioned it, does he do fly fishing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen some pictures.
He doesn't get to the Boundary Waters much, but he fishes everywhere else.
Yeah, and
rivers, lakes.
He has success everywhere. I've gone fly fishing with him, and it's embarrassing. we'll put in a stream, same stream.
Yeah.
He'll go this way, I'll go this way, working, and then we'll meet back at the car. And I'll catch 3. And he goes, yeah, 21. But no, yeah, he's crazy good. But I think that those early years were probably pretty helpful getting him keened into that program. But
he was probably on top of the world, 10-year-old going with his cool older brother to the Boundary Waters. Except for the part of getting yelled at when he was paddling.
He probably didn't. I don't think he cared about that either. That happened to my girls too. I'll just share that since it's related. I brought my 2 oldest daughters. Their first trip was with my brother John and a couple of his daughters. We went up the Moose River to Agnes Lake.
Yeah,
had a great trip. Caught some really nice fish. And what I love about Agnes is it's got tons of species.
I was going to ask you that question. What kind of fish you can catch up there?
Yeah, and so. And that is part of your planning too. So if you're targeting certain fish, certain areas don't like some lakes only have northerns.
Oh, yeah.
Some only have lake trout, and some have, the big four or whatever.
Yeah.
But Agnes has got all kinds of stuff. They got sauger, crappies, big crappies in there. But anyway, to the story of my daughters, we had a nice trip, but the pack out day was super windy, and the wind was coming right into the camp, and it was really strong, and it's a long paddle from the car to Agnes Lake. There's probably, I don't know, 6 portages in between, one lake and a river, river segments. But anyway, we were sitting on shore and because we didn't want to get on the water because it was that bad.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, either we wait till the wind dies down, which might be till evening.
Yeah.
Or we just go for it.
Yeah.
And we decided to go for it. And, just perspective, we had water coming in the canoe over the top. I mean, these were rollers that were coming across, and I'm literally yelling at these girls just like I did Jess. And it was so much work. And it took us at least twice as long to get to the car as it did, coming in. It was a ton of work. We did have a little stop on a bluff overlooking the river, which is beautiful, but we got to the car and I'm just sitting there and like, God dang it. I was kind of hoping for a fun, easy trip so they might like it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And literally I was brutal. I mean, because it was so much work. And I was just thinking they're never going to come back.
Yeah.
And we probably weren't 10 minutes down the Echo Trail. And one of the girls looks at me, he goes, Dad, when do we get to come back? I'm like, oh my, thank God. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, we're fine.
Was that their first trip?
That was their
first trip.
Yeah.
Really?
And then, and another thing that happened just to reinforce, because I love that experience. I mean, car camping to me is really not my thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind it, but if I could pick, going into the wilderness is just a whole different program, and all my gear is set up for that, and just kind of just how I've lived life. But there were times. So one of the problems with the Boundary Waters is restrictions on the number of people, right? So you're limited to 9 people in 4 canoes. That's the max you can have.
Oh, really? Yeah. In a group? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, as our families grew, we couldn't fit everybody in a campsite, and we ended up doing some, car camping day trips into the Boundary Waters, like at Sawbill and other places. And I remember on one of those trips, one of my kids looked at me, she goes, Dad, and this is one of my daughters, I can't remember which one, and she goes, next year, can we do the real Boundary Waters?
She wasn't impressed with the car camping either.
Yeah. So, and actually they've all been like that. And so it's such a blessing to have them love what you love.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You'd rather have that than, no, let's just camp at that campground again.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Well, I mean, there are people that would like that, but for someone like you, I mean, that loves getting in there. That's definitely the way to
your
go.
Kids love it. So that doesn't always happen. So
yeah.
I can give you a couple of stories about my kids. So it's kind of strange because my 3 oldest boys, Ryan, Nick, and Eli, they're at the stage now where they're going on their own with their buddies, so they're not going with dad anymore.
Yeah.
Which is cool because now they're self-sufficient. I think their first trip alone was pretty rough. I think they brought pretty much ramen to eat, and I don't know how well that went over, but they've learned to figure it out, but they're doing it on their own, which is cool. Then I got a couple of other kids who went one time and probably will never go again.
Oh yeah.
And that 1-star experience was Abby's first time. And she's like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
My son Todd went once. He caught a ton of fish on Birch Lake. There's some pictures of him, holding a nice big large mouth and stuff. But I think he enjoyed it, but not enough to where, boy, I really want to go back.
Fell in love with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Will you encourage him to go back on his own when or no? I mean,
I wouldn't discourage him. And, I guess it'd be kind of fun to try and bring him again some point if he's interested. But.
See, yeah.
When I was looking through the pictures kind of before, when I sent those to you, I was going through them and I was looking at these kids, and they caught a lot of fish.
Yeah.
And they caught a lot of nice fish. Like I didn't, cause you don't really remember like their experience, but it's like, oh my gosh, like Hannah, man, she just had one big fish after another. And I'm like, wow. What I'd love to do is just put together like a little slideshow video for just a kid's experience kind of growing up. Cause they, I took my boys, I think when they were, how old was Nick and Matt when we went to Rose?
I think
5-ish. I think 5. I know by the time they graduated, my older boys had been there over 10 times, so they really got to experience, the Boundary Waters from an early age. But it's weird how some kids like my Ben, that guy, I don't care where we are. And Boundary Waters is no exception. Like he's the only kid in my family that's got a 40. So when you think about fish, it's 20 for bass, 30 for walleyes, 40 for north. He got a 40 northern, but when we're in Florida, he catches this huge cobia, that's spilling over on both sides. We're in Texas, he gets a big redfish. That's like everywhere he goes, he gets the big fish. Yeah. And he's not like, he doesn't mind fishing, but it's not like his thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He's just the lucky one? Or what?
Yeah, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's got a little bit of Uncle Jess in him or what?
That or I think Vinny. Was he the guy that could catch a...
Vinny Niemela?
Yeah. I think Vinny Niemela could catch a 40-incher out of a mud puddle.
Hey, can we go back to that story he was telling about on Lake Agnes?
Yeah.
So that's not the only windy experience on Lake Agnes. Me and Mike went up with our boys, two oldest, and Randy and Greg were up there with their boys, but Greg only had his son Eric, I think was the only one in his canoe. And I don't know if Greg or Randy only had Daniel, but anyway, the boys weren't very old at that point, but we were on Agnes, same thing. We were packing up. It was stormy, very windy. I'm pretty sure they were whitecap rollers on the lake, and our site was a little bit further up the lake, and we had to head that way up into the wind, of course, because that's how it works in the Boundary Waters.
Of course.
Oh, I remember that.
And Randy and Greg were on a site heading that way, so we saw them leave, and they went around the point. And it wasn't much longer. We saw them going that way.
Oh, no.
That wind just turned them around. They went to the other end of the lake.
They have a choice.
And, oh, man, that was because it's real dangerous because if you get a canoe sideways, you're over.
Yeah.
You got to get the nose into those waves and you got to just bear down and keep going.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah. Have you ever been delayed going in or out by weather like that? Or have you always just sent it?
I always sent it. And, I would say, I feel pretty confident in the canoe.
Okay.
Even in bad weather. So I, especially with them, with one of my brothers or another adult.
Yeah.
Because the key is, as long as you can manage the canoe, keeping it into the wind, you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to keep that bow pointed into the wind, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thinking about, I thought you were talking about the other trip too. We went with the same crew. We went into Agnes, and all the sites on Agnes were taken. And Greg and Randy ended up staying. They were ahead of us, so they got the last site. Oh. And I think Ryan and James were in a canoe, and they were done. I mean, they were exhausted. It's a long day to get there.
Yeah, we were really bummed out that we had to keep going,
and we had to go. So we had to go into Lac LaCroix, which is more work. Yeah. And these guys were kicking and screaming, and so we went, and it turned out to be
it was the greatest thing that happened because
why?
To me, Lac LaCroix is my favorite lake.
Oh,
it is just a beautiful lake. The campsites are amazing. The site we had was nice, but it wasn't
5-star.
It was, maybe a 4-star.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of nice sites, and the lake is really cool. There's pictographs on cliff faces.
Oh, yeah. I saw some of those in your pictures. Those are really cool.
It is just an amazing lake. But the one thing I don't like about that lake, from the U.S. side, you got to really bust your butt to get there. Portages, lakes, it's a long trek.
Yeah.
Only to get there to see a motorboat driving by from the Canada.
Geez.
The Canadian side allows motors on their boats, so you can be paddling next to a motorized fishing boat.
Sure.
On the Canada side,
Yeah.
there's a pretty good sized Indian village on the north end of that lake.
Yeah.
That's where I caught my 48 incher.
Oh, yeah?
It was on Lac LaCroix.
Do they allow motors on all their lakes on the Quetico? No, just certain ones. So kind of like, because there's some lakes in the Boundary Waters, right, that you can have a motor of certain size on.
Yep. Yeah. Basswood has a section. That's where the state record northern was caught on Basswood Lake. And there's not all of it, but there's part of it is motorized. Trout Lake is a bigger lake. You can have motors, but very few.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I just assumed that Canada was kind of the same way, that all the way through, no motors, but
no. Well, this happened on that 21-day trip with Steve. We were many days into our trip, and we were staying on this little lake called Bichu. And if you look on the map, you're in the middle of nowhere, and it was just not a big lake, but just a beautiful, quiet morning. And we were kind of doing our morning routine. And then we ate. And they were breaking camp down, and we started hearing this humming, kind of in the distance, and we're like, because you look on the map, there's nothing there, right? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I'd say like 20, 30 minutes later, like these 3 boats come pouring through this swamp out into the lake. I'm like, what? Because literally, and so it looks like, that was the very edge of Quetico. So that was just like Canada's forest, and people had portaged these boats across these lakes to get into Bichu. That was so bizarre, because we really thought we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yikes.
A little bit of a buzzkill, but
yeah, for sure. Have you had to ride out any nasty storms up there over the years?
I think probably the worst we had a week-long trip going from Saginaw down the border and kind of around, up through Seagull. And we had planned to stop. I can't remember what the lake was, just west of Seagull. And when we got up that morning, it was raining, kind of a drizzly rain. And so we had, we'd kind of, and I would say probably the most, least favorite things is packing up and moving in the rain.
Yeah.
Like if you're all set up in camp, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you got to pack, if you got to break things down and load up and move, it's not real fun. Well, the rain kept coming and it got worse, and we stopped on Seagull Lake, and we made some soup lunch kind of in the woods, just kind of hoping it would die down. And it didn't. Had no idea what time it was, and because I didn't have a watch or whatever, but we had no idea. And we all agreed, it's like, well, this isn't really any fun. It's at the end of the trip. Let's just keep going and get to the car.
Yeah.
And we had parked at the end of the Gunflint Trail at an outfitter. So we all agreed to do that. We got in our canoes, started paddling, and it got dark.
Oh, no.
And so I think for the next, whatever was left, an hour or two paddle, across this lake and up this Ash River up to the, where our car was. We had to paddle in the dark. And that was probably the only weather affecting thing that maybe ended up a little wonky, but
yeah. You've probably seen pretty much all kinds of weather though over the years, I would imagine. I mean, rain, snow, probably some thunderstorms. I mean,
yeah, boomers up there can be, especially when you're sleeping on the ground. And
it seems like there's a lot of thunderstorms at night for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it's serious. I mean, there's some people that died on
trees could fall.
Duncan Lake. Yeah, not that too many years ago. You get some really bad wind. But I know, like Paul Kivisto was on Rose Lake with some people, and they literally couldn't get off their campsite on the day they were leaving, and they ended up hauling all their gear through the woods.
Oh, geez.
To get up into this hiking trail and then over to, a smaller lake that they could get back to the car. So yeah, weather can be a huge factor.
Yeah.
Kind of throw a curveball in your plans.
Got to be prepared for just about anything, eh?
Yeah. Speaking of Rose, real quick, that was one of my favorite spots too. The lake itself, not necessarily for the site or the fishing, but it has a couple features that I think are really cool. It has a waterfall.
Okay.
That you can just kind of walk in. It's like you can take a shower. You can bring the soap and clean up, and it's like a big natural shower that you can just go in and wash up on, which can be kind of nice up there.
Yeah.
And like he mentioned, they have a hiking trail, and that was the trip that we brought some of our kids for the first time with Steve. Nick was 5 and Matt 5. They're just little kids.
Yeah.
And we went up this hiking trail, and it was it June-ish? I don't know what time, but the berries were out. Oh, we had triple berry pancakes. We had blueberries, thimbleberries, and some other kind of berries. And we had pictures of them.
I was say, was that in the pictures you guys? I don't know if we got them put in here or not. But
one of the food plates has because I've gone back there several times for berries. It's a great berry spot. I call it a quad berry pancake because I threw in a dingleberry.
Oh boy! Yikes!
Yeah,
I'll pass on those.
Yeah, we'll stick with the triple berry.
Yeah, triple berry. So let's talk about food. I was looking through some of your pictures, and you guys made stuff that I would never would have associated with the Boundary Waters, like frozen pizza.
Yeah, no, not frozen.
Not fresh. That was fresh.
Yeah,
you had that little
solar oven,
reflector oven thing.
Reflector oven. Yeah.
Let's see if I can. I think I put that in it. Let's see if we can make history and get a picture on the screen.
Yeah,
did John set you onto the reflector oven?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking he might have been first with that. But that was...
It's kind of a cool thing. I didn't know that such a thing existed.
Yeah. No, that was for sure a revolution in dining.
There's some cinnamon rolls in it. I know I've got a... here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can make this one work.
Were those cinnamon rolls from the tube?
Yeah. Like a Pillsbury.
But I bet they tasted way better out there than they did at home.
Yeah, one thing about food in the Boundary Waters, and I don't think you'll find anybody that disagrees, everything out there tastes good. Better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's, but a lot of our trips now have kind of been more of long, 4 or 5 day weekends.
Yeah.
And so, but the addition of the reflector oven, really opens up the door to other stuff, and pizzas out there are just, kids love them.
Oh yeah.
And, it's a slower process, right? Because I got 2 ovens and so I can do 2 at a time. But, that's kind of a neat idea.
Well, the pizza thing, the early version of the pizza is using just a flour tortilla and a fry pan with pizza sauce, pepperoni and cheese.
We still call those Boundary Water pizzas.
Yeah. And those are pretty quick and easy, and they're, pretty good to eat when you're up there. You fold them over and, that's a good meal. But the reflector oven it takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, for sure.
Another one here somewhere. Thought I had another one, but yeah. So you just set that thing by the fire, and it just takes the heat from the fire and reflects it off and onto the
So
food.
If you just imagine you're sitting with in the summer with shorts on and you're close to the fire, that heat you feel on your shins.
Yeah.
You put that reflector oven right in there, and that is just like an oven.
I guess
you can bake bread and it's that's a neat deal. But I would say one of my favorites for the Boundary Waters is Stuart Osthoff. He's the editor of the Boundary Water Journal.
Okay.
And there's all these different ideas on food. Some people, it's all about weight and everything's got to be dehydrated, and you're just, you're going to go and Stuart's theory is, no, I'm going to eat good.
Yeah.
And if I have to double portage, I'll double portage.
Yeah.
So we eat bush pasties. I usually make a batch of spaghetti that that's frozen when I get up there. And so maybe I'll eat that on day 2. Burgers, there's, egg sandwiches in the morning, the foods that last longer, like pancakes will be kind of towards the end of the trip. Cause that doesn't spoil, but we eat good. I brought my brother-in-law up there on a trip. He's an avid outdoorsman, fisherman, and he had never gone. And he just made a comment. He goes, man, I eat better up here than I do at home. It's a pretty good meal.
I had that exact thought because there was one picture that you sent. It looks like I didn't put it in here, but there was like mashed potatoes and gravy, stuffing, and turkey.
Yeah. I got a story about that. So, you can do food differently with groups. And oftentimes it's like, okay, you pick a meal to feed the whole crew and I'll pick a meal and feed the crew.
Yeah.
So we did that and, it was my turn to fix the meal. And that was the meal that I brought. And my brother, John, had made that, a trip or 2 before. And I thought, that was really good. So I brought it up there and I made the guys their stuff, and Mike's kids probably eat twice as much as my kids do. So I brought up what I thought, should feed the crew. And they're like, okay, where's
the rest
more?
of it?
It's like, oh man, I felt pretty bad. It's like, man, I didn't bring enough food for these guys because, I'm just kind of gauging it off what, what I would feed my crew, and his crew eats a lot more food than my crew does.
Yeah. Especially my boys, they could pound the food away. It's like, where do you put it?
Yeah. So you're bringing a table in with you and everything?
Yeah,
on some trips at least.
Yeah. So that's a Horse Lake trip. And, so when I was younger, I think we were definitely a lot lighter, and we did a lot of dehydrated packs of food and stuff like that. But, as my family grew, and, I call them Sherpas. They're all young and strong. And so on that trip, I had my son, Nathan, who, he could probably haul 2 canoes and 4 packs at a time. But, I bought this table thing because it's just so convenient. In these later years, I've been more of just the camp guide. I do all the cooking and, navigating and whatnot. And so that just makes it so much easier to, when you're base camping.
Yeah.
On those trips, you go in, you stay.
You set up, you stay and come out. Yeah. What % of your trips are like that, would you say? I suppose it depends on who you go with type of deal too. But.
Right. And I would say the majority of my trips, I would say in the last 20 years have been base camp. Mm-hmm. The early trips were routes, like circle routes or maybe in and out Moose River. I'd say probably, half the trips are base camped. Okay. Just because you're trying to squeeze trips in, long weekends.
Yeah.
You can't, and it's not super fun to tear everything down and then set up again the same day.
Yeah.
Unless you have a destination.
Yeah.
My favorite all-time lake is Crooked Lake.
Okay.
And if you look on a map where that is, so speaking of planning, that took a little bit of planning, because when we decided to go there, I couldn't get any permits to get me into the main arteries that get you into Crooked. And it's hard to get there in a day. Coming from the west, you can get a tow, like Larry had mentioned, from Crane Lake. And, but that turned out to be super expensive. And it's cheap.
Yeah. What does it cost for that?
It's expensive. Well, Birch Lake one is cheap because there's a lot of people there. But if you go into Lac La Croix, it's probably like $100 a person one way.
Oh yeah. It's not super cheap.
Yeah. The Birch one's what, like $50-$60 I have or something?
For a round trip. Yeah.
It's well worth it because it saves you a lot of time.
Is that this picture here?
Yeah.
That's
an example.
Sure.
But on the Crooked Lake trip, what happened was I had to come up with a creative way to get there. And I took a tow out of Moose Lake, and the guy we had to push the canoes on a trailer of the boat over a portage, which is kind of cool. So we all got out and we're all pushing this up over, and he got us up into Basswood Falls, really close to that. So it saved us a day for sure. But it's too far to go from Crooked Lake to your car in a day. So, we had to move. I think we moved twice that trip. We ended up on a campsite on Ferry Lake, where John, Mike Raisin, and I stayed at on my first trip up there. And that honestly is a 5-star campsite. Oh yeah. It is just gorgeous. And the trees had obviously gotten a lot bigger, and but yeah, doing routes takes a lot more thought and a lot more planning. Yep. And a lot more restrictions, because you're not going to bring, that kind of stuff on a trip where you're moving. When you pay for a tow, do they come and get you then too? Yeah. Yeah. Can.
Yeah. If you pay them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They're happy.
I got another food
payment. Yeah.
Food thing. So, traditionally you got a food pack and you hang it up on a tree so the bears don't eat your food. Yeah. Well, like Mike said, you don't really see bears much anymore. So it's not as big a thing, at least in my mind when I go. And my brother, John, he turned me on to a system that he has, which is 2 5-gallon pails with that twist cover that seals it. You put that in a pack and they both fit in a pack. And then you make a board that goes over the 2 pails. So you have your table and you have your cupboards. So you have your food in these pails, and you got a surface that you can cook and eat on, prep on, or whatever you need to do. And that has worked really well. And, you keep the critters out. If a bear's going to come, he's going to get what you got.
He's going to figure it out.
But the critters can't get it.
It's mostly mice and
it's a convenience thing.
Chipmunks that do damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bear rope hasn't gotten a lot of work. I just keep things in the pail on the ground.
That was one of those campsites I was looking at. The review said something about, it was a 2-star review because it was a small site with no bear hang. All right. Yeah. I didn't know what a bear hang was then, but now I figured it out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something you would look at when you got there.
I thought this picture was funny. On the last Boundary Waters episode, Mike or Dave, one of them mentioned, you can't always rely on firewood just being there. On whatever campsite you're at, it's not guaranteed there's going to be just firewood there.
Most likely it won't be. Yeah. There won't be hardly any. And this was, well, I feel like getting firewood is a job you can delegate. Yeah. Right. As you're kind of getting your camp set up, and they came back with some wet, spongy wood and just stuff I don't want to cook with. Yeah. Yeah. And so I went out with Hannah and just said, here's how you get firewood. One, you most likely aren't going to find it at your campsite. We just went into a bay, pulled up, and actually near a beaver den is a great place to find wood. And so, within minutes, a short period of time, we fill up some really nice down dry wood. Yeah. And we came back and
a little more than Jess came back with.
More than 2 sticks, at least I see.
I will say, my brother Aaron has not been up there very much, to my knowledge, and he came with us to Birch, and that guy, he loves. I've never seen a more beautiful cord of firewood, all stacked and split.
He likes making wood, huh?
Oh, it was just. He just I was just so amazed at what he ended up doing. He made this beautiful stack of wood. It was just it was almost too pretty to burn.
And he washing dishes real meticulously.
Oh yeah. He followed the FDA standards for sanitation. And, it was kind of a twist from our, our focus has always been fishing. Sometimes if you're eating in the dark at night, it's like, dish is going to wait till the morning.
Yeah. Dunk them in the lake.
Swish them out.
Rub some sand on it.
Yeah. Good
Color
enough.
good.
Yeah.
Legitimately though.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I think that trip, was that the same trip Victoria was on?
Yeah.
So Aaron and Victoria, his daughter, were up that. And that was the only trip my dad came with me and my crew up to the Boundary Waters. And, he caught fish, but he didn't like it enough to want to go back.
Really?
Yeah, which, and he was a scout leader, did lots of camping with the scouts, but it's a different kind of camping.
Yeah.
It's a different experience. I do remember we had a storm for sure one night where the tent, normally a tent's like this. Well, the storm made it, kind of look like it was half there because it just pushed half of it down. And so I think that kind of, it's like, this is all right. But that was enough.
That was good for me. Yeah. Yeah. What are we scaling a beaver dam here or what?
Yeah, I was impressed with that dam. This is on the Stewart River. And like when you're paddling up to it, there's actually quite a drop.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking out but I think that's part of the experience in the Boundary Waters. You never really know what you're going to run into.
Yeah.
And, like the permit I got this fall for Labor Day is up the Hog Creek.
Okay.
Goes into Parent Lake, which is a kind of an easier trip. But there's, I would expect most years that I've been there's been at least 3 beaver dams, not of that size.
Yeah.
But you gotta get over.
Figure out a way to get over it. Yeah.
So,
Spike Cullinan was telling us when he came on that they were going downstream and just tried to bail over the beaver dam and it did not work out well. They made it over, but they didn't stay upright.
Yeah.
If you had a speedboat, you could jump it, but
it's funny.
Did they tell the story, speaking of food in the Boundary Waters, did Spike and Dave tell you about their trip with Jake Long and his sack of food? That had to have come up in that story or
I don't recall it.
And I wasn't there, but I heard stories that Jake Long went with, Mike and Dave and whoever else was with him.
Okay.
Maybe Nick, I don't know, Corbin, but he came with a big, like a gunny sack full of meat, like he raided mom and dad's, freezer. Yeah. Their half a beef went with Jake in his gunny sack, and he hauled that. hauled that thing. It's like, oh man, you can't portage 50 pounds of meat, or however much. But I think they ate pretty good there.
So they ate like kings that trip for sure.
Yeah.
Did we purposely swamp this canoe, or are we learning how to unswamp one here, or what?
No, actually, that's cool. That's a cool story too. And it's actually a Boy Scout story. We were camping. This is actually Rose Lake, and we were paddling to go to the rocks to do cliff jumping.
Yeah,
and those 3 girls were in that canoe, and one of them, whoever was in the middle, I don't remember which one, their hat flew off, and they kind of reached over the side, to grab it, and they went right in, and you're kind of out in the middle of a lake. And Greg was telling me, what are you? He's like, I had no idea what you were going to do. And in the Boy Scouts, we swamped canoes out in the middle of the lake, and we trained how to do that. And, so I took some pictures, and you just go up, you pick up one of the ends of the canoe.
Okay.
Upside down, just like it is, and you drag it over the top of your canoe, and then you flip it over and then set it back in the lake.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But if you don't know that, it's like, what do you do?
What do you do?
Do you swim it to shore? Do you, whatever?
There's other ways of doing it in the water too.
What if you don't have another canoe?
One on each end, and you get it up to the surface and then out and flip it quick. Yeah. So you can if you
don't have another canoe.
Yeah. So we practiced that too in scouting too without the canoe. But
I thought that was pretty cool. I got to use something I learned as a little kid.
Yeah, right.
Although I'll share another story like that was actually self-inflicted intentionally. This was with John again on a different trip. We were we were on Four Town Lake, and we were going to day trip to Horse, and there's a series of rapids that you have to portage around. Well, we were empty. We're just got fishing stuff and whatever, and it didn't look real bad, from the top. And I said, John, hey, let's run these rapids, because I think it'd be a fun experience, and so John went first. He had an Old Town canoe, which isn't as stable. My Mad River is more designed for a river. It's got a semi V hull, so it's really stable. Gotcha. So canoe design is actually a big deal. If you're interested in buying canoes, you should look into what kind of hull you get. But anyway, he went first, and you run through these rapids, and there's kind of a sharp corner kind of at the bottom, and it kind of goes into a little bay and then like a waterfall thing. Yeah. But when he got to that corner, he went over hard, and Christina still thinks she almost died that day. And so we made it down there, and we got him out. But to me, the whole thing was about creating memories, and I think that stuck with her. And like if she was here, she said, "Dad, you almost killed me."
But hey, memory made, so it's all good.
We're all fine. Yeah.
All right. If you're watching this in the future and you're squeamish, look away now, because this next picture is a fish hook in a finger or in a thumb, maybe.
Oh, I wanted to include fish hook pictures because I didn't get a chance to go through all mine, but kind of like that one. My son, Nick, caught himself in the earlobe.
Oh, no.
So I have a picture of him with this, I think it's a Rapala hanging off his ear. It's like, that's the Boundary Waters earring that you don't want, but.
You have to cut the hook or what?
We cut the barb off, poked it through.
Pull it back through,
So I got a few maybe quick stories. Because I mean, these are things that happen, obviously. For sure. The first one is one I brought younger boys to Parent Lake, and I was really the only adult on this trip. And they were, they're probably, teenagers, younger teens. And we get to our campsite, and we get all set up, and I'm kind of thinking we're many hours from help, right out there. And I'm the only adult, and I'm like, so I huddled the guys around the camp, and I said, look, we're hours from anything. So I don't want you guys doing anything, with hatchets, goofing off, fish hooks. I mean, I don't want to deal with any of that because, so I kind of, laid this out as kind of the law. And so we get all set up, we eat, and we go fishing. And so I have Ben and Alan Lukema in my canoe, and Alan catches a walleye right away, as we're trolling. And I'm like, hey, do you need help with that? No, I got it.
Oh, no.
First fish, he buried a hook in his hand. And it wasn't too bad. I was able to pop it out, and, he's crying, and it wasn't crying, but, I mean, it's kind of, I'm just like, seriously.
He was a kid, right? Like,
yeah.
It's
13, 14.
Fish hook in the hand.
I'm like, seriously, first fish. But this
were you not listening? Or,
But this picture, that's my thumb.
Okay.
And I was with two of my daughters, kind of in the middle of nowhere, no help. And I had to get it out. And the only way when you're by yourself, and this happened to Steve on our one of our longer Quetico trips, you got to fight that through.
You just got to push it through.
You got to push it through and get the barb. And it's just crazy how hard it is. It took me a long time to get that barb to pop out the other side and cut off. But the funnest experience was on that Crooked Lake trip. I think Jacob, it might have been his lure or not, but somebody got a snag.
Yeah.
There's this little choke point. Fishing was fantastic there. It's like, my God, we caught so many fish and cool fish, like big white fish.
Okay.
I mean, big northerns, smallies. It's just, that lake is phenomenal. But anyway, there's there's a nice lure that's caught in the rocks. He can see it. So Jacob, he goes down there and he slips as he's reaching for the lure and he buries this thing in his hand.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, great.
Oh,
well, my daughter, Hannah and James were both thinking about going to school for nursing.
oh,
So I said, okay, we're gonna practice on Jacob.
Yeah.
And it's a great
Lesson
video.
one.
There's a great video. So Jacob's out, and I said, okay, here's how you take a hook out. I said, so I cut some heavier line,
Yep.
In the loop, and I said, I need one of you guys to put pressure, on the head of the thing, at the eye, and the other one is just going to
Pull the string.
string, and it's going to pop out.
Yeah.
And, kind of sounds kind of scary. And, Jacob's kind of like bracing for the worst. and the first time they tried it, they were tentative,
Yeah.
And so it didn't pop
Didn't
out.
work,
And I said, look, I'm not kidding here. I said, you got to pop it. It'll come out. But you got to give it,
Just gotta go for it. Yeah.
And so, they're all bracing up and they do it again. And I think it was James might have been, he popped it, and either James or Hannah, and it came out, and Jacob's like, yes. He goes, that was awesome. But it was a cool experience. I mean, it was,
And they learned a skill that is pretty valuable, actually.
Yeah, no, it was super fun. I love that video. I've watched it a bunch because, he's such a great guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a glass half full, but he was so pumped to get that out.
I took a video of the very same thing. I was up with John and his son Marky and me and Ethan. And Ethan got a treble hook in his thigh. And John did the same trick. He got some string, put it around the bar, pressed the thing down, and just popped it right out.
Yeah.
And it worked really well.
Yeah.
And I took a video of it.
Yeah.
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 That's cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool. You said this was kind of an emotional trip.
Yeah, this was a special deal. So, and it worked out perfect. That's actually the trip that I brought my son-in-law on too. But this was right after COVID.
Yeah.
And John got hammered. He was in the hospital for a couple months and man, just took a beating.
Yeah.
Kind of the point where you're not really sure you're ever going to make it back up there.
Yeah.
I mean, his body was just wasted but he came on this trip and we got to fish together. And this is a cool picture. You can see we got a double northern,
yeah.
But we caught a ton of fish that trip. A lot of bass. And just, it was so much fun. And, I would say, if anything, the Boundary Waters is a healing place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy how good you feel when you're out there.
I was going to ask you that because there's anybody that's gone as often as you have, or even you, Larry, to go 15 times or whatever. That's got to be more than just, oh, this place is cool, I want to come back. There's got to be something more to it. You know what I mean? Like either you just feel really restored when you get back, or it's some sort of connection there. I mean, what do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's kind of a spiritual experience because it's just you and the creation.
Yeah.
None of this man-made crap around you, besides your gear. But
I will. Yeah. I mean, God for sure is the best artist, and he has just made a masterpiece up there.
Yeah.
And, every corner, it to me, it's a very magical place, and it's so pristine. You're not really, there really is no, intrusion, man-made intrusion. I mean, outside of a grate and a little latrine back in the woods, it's pretty pure,
pretty untouched.
Yeah. And, the air, Northern Lights. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I bet.
Were you on Tuscarora trip when we saw Northern Lights? It was just so
Remember.
spectacular, just laying on the rocks and the whole sky is dancing. And it's just magical.
Yeah.
And, obviously you don't get that every trip, but you get the clean air and the crisp, pine smells and
sunrises and sunsets.
Yeah. I think I'd put some of those out there.
Yeah,
just paddling through these lakes is just so therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
So
I think I was trying to think if, around here, there's no places around here per se that I've been to where I thought I would want to go back as many times, as you've been to the Boundary Waters or even you. The closest thing I could think of was, probably when I'm out in the mountains out west, right? Like that, I love being out there.
Yeah.
But it's 16 hours away, not, 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
so
I would completely agree with that. That has the same kind of,
that's why
that
people
vibe.
move there.
yeah.
They go to Colorado because they love being close to the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, oh, Larry, you were telling me about this.
Yeah. So this is a picture. There's a couple of things to this picture. One, so this is my daughter, Jenna. She came up once on a trip up to Birch Lake. And, the fishing was amazing like it usually is. And she's got a Rapala there and she caught 2 smallmouth in one cast. And then I think Eli was in the middle of the canoe.
Yeah, I got that picture too.
And
here.
he caught a fish at the same time. So,
so it was a triple.
So he caught one, and I could have caught one at the same time too. That's how many fish he catch. But yeah, it was cool. And I think that same trip, Nick or somebody else had a double just like Jenna, but I didn't get a picture of it. But that's pretty cool. I've never had a double, but I haven't seen
either.
it.
I've heard about it. I've never even seen a picture of it, I don't think. Mike Coyerstone was saying on the last episode, they found a spot where they were fishing and it was literally every cast they were pulling one in. Mm-hmm. And he said it got to the point where if they didn't catch one on one cast, they're like, what the heck is going on here?
You're wondering what happened.
What went wrong?
Yeah. One of kind of related to that, there's been a lot of times you're fighting a fish into the boat.
Yeah.
And another fish will take it.
Yeah.
And this happened a ton in Canada. And so you're like, my favorite fishing is jig.
Okay.
With lighter equipment, for smallmouth and walleyes. But you'll watch, you'll see those fish, they're fighting and you can see them darting because the water's pretty clear in most lakes. And out of the shadows will come a northern and just hammer it broadside. And then, so you're fighting both of them and then they keep getting closer and they finally get to your line and, you lose them.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened all the time. And it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. That doesn't happen too often around here.
No.
Not that I know of anyway.
Maybe in the ocean.
Yeah.
But
yeah, back to that. I said there's a couple things to that picture before you get into the hammock.
Yeah.
So I included a few pictures of some lures. And not just because they're cool, but because every once in a while, and it's not every trip, but oftentimes you'll have a person or yourself will have the lure.
Oh, yeah.
The lure. This thing just is magical. And you're catching fish after fish after fish. And both Jenna and Eli have had a trip where they had the lure.
Yeah.
And in Jenna's case, it's the one that she has there. I think it's a hot steel Rapala.
Yeah.
And another trip, Eli had a clown. It was a clown colored shad wrap, and he just was catching fish after fish. And I think I have a few pictures of him holding northerns.
Yeah.
I think that was the trip where that clown colored shad wrap just was magical for him.
Yeah. And then somebody else puts on the same lure and doesn't catch anything.
Yeah. Well, there was another trip where I had a jointed kind of bluish color shad wrap with an orange belly.
Yeah.
And we got to this spot and we were trolling and I caught one. Going back, I caught one. Going back, I caught one. Back, and every pass I'd catch one, and my kids weren't catching it. And they got to the point where it's like, I hope you get bit off. And sure enough, I got bit off.
Did.
Okay, we're done now.
One of the things we still do it. We compete for the Triple Crown.
Okay.
Right. So if you catch the most fish, the most species, and the biggest fish,
Oh,
you're
sure.
a Triple Crown winner.
Okay.
You know, and so
That's cool.
yeah. And so I would say most trips you don't get a Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
You might get the most, or you might get the most,
Yeah.
but you don't get the
You
big.
get one of the three or two of the
But,
three. But
speaking of the magic lure, one trip to Stewart Lake, Randy Kiernan had he had a black and gold Rapala, a countdown Rapala, a little fatter guy.
Mhm.
That thing was just money. And he definitely was Triple Crown winner. But it is crazy how you can get one lure, like Larry said, you're in the same water, you're going right by the same thing, but that
for whatever
but
reason,
they love one thing or another, and you just never know what it is either.
how many Triple Crown winners have there been?
Oh, there's been plenty,
Yeah.
but it's not every trip because it's hotly contested for sure.
Oh yeah. You have like a traveling trophy or anything? Or?
No, but because we'd keep stats, and I remember one trip, and I will freely admit that John is absolutely a much better fisherman than I am. He's way more knowledgeable, but you're always competing, right? When you're with brothers, and we were on a trip to Gaskin Lake one year, and we were neck and neck coming into the last day, and I was in the back of the canoe, and we might have been going home, or this maybe the last evening, before we packed up and headed out, and we were tied for fish count, and we're going through this really shallow area. It's probably just a couple feet deep, so we kind of reeled up, and I had a jig on and like a twister, and it was just kind of dangling right on top of the water.
Oh yeah.
As we were going through, because when I get snagged and I caught a smallie, so I beat him.
Yeah.
A last minute
walk out for winner.
Yeah, smoked it.
Oh, that's great. This hammock kind of looks like a hybrid.
Yeah, isn't
like
that cool?
It is like a tent slash.
Yeah. When I fell in love with. Well, I'll tell you my hammock journey because just in case somebody's interested in getting off the ground, which
I'm interested.
If you think about ground camping, you still worry about rocks, roots, water. In hammocks, that all goes away.
Yep.
And I would say in most places, you're not going to have a problem finding a place to mount a hammock up there.
Yeah.
So my first experience was a coworker had like a hammock that he had used in the Boundary Waters. So, and I borrowed that on a trip. It was steep work. And I literally never felt better body wise, when I got up, got out of the hammock in the morning.
Yeah.
Because even with a nice pad, I'm still tossing and turning. You got sore shoulders, sore hips, whatnot. But the you kind of slept like a banana, so you're kind of like all kind of wrapped in, and I felt great, but it wasn't like a great sleep, I would say.
Okay.
So then started looking into it, and there's a guy named Hennessy. I think he's out of Washington, and the Hennessy hammock, they're super lightweight. They're great for traveling. They pack up small. But you sleep more at like a 45 degree angle, and it's a much flatter sleep, and you can sleep on your side, and it's very, very comfortable. And so I got to that one. I was very happy with it. And then John, I think he said, "Hey, have you seen the Haven?" And so he sent me a kind of a link, and I was looking at the Haven. Well, that was more of it had a frame. It's almost more like the hammock tent. It's just a square, but it had a bar on each end, and then you can kind of put your pad inside.
Okay.
And that was actually really, really good. Super quick to mount, just both ends, put the bars up and put your pad in. I mean, your bed is ready in literally minutes.
Yeah.
But the length of it was a little bit too short. I'm a little taller. And so I was like sleeping right underneath that bar.
Oh yeah. I gotcha.
Wasn't really pumped on that. And then so I found the last one, which is the Taj Mahal. It actually comes with a it's the same concept, except the bars are a little higher. It's a bigger, I'm trying to think of the name's escaping me. But that you can sleep on your stomach.
That's the thing, huh? That's the Cadillac.
Yeah. And it's super comfortable, super warm. I mean, it is, that's the Cadillac. And the one thing about the Boundary Waters is most of your travel time is in a canoe.
Yeah.
So you can splurge a little bit, where, backpackers and hikers, they got to really, they're carrying everything. So,
yeah. True.
Yeah. So when I started going up, I'm like, what do I do about the kids? And so this is called a Stingray.
Okay.
And it's really designed for 3 adults to sleep, this way. And then the door to come in is in the center. So you come in from the bottom. Oh, you can kind of climb up. It's almost like a tree fort.
Interesting.
And so, but for kids, you can put, 5, 6 kids up there. It holds like 900 pounds.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would probably equate it to like sleeping on a tramp,
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool. And so you can put all your packs underneath it, to keep it out of the rain. And, so yeah, when I brought kids, I brought the Stingray up and, they can hang out in there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea. There was another hammock picture I think I put in here that looked a little bit different.
Yeah, that
more of a traditional just hammock with a tarp,
yeah,
or
so
rain fly over it. Oh, okay.
But you know what I love about those is, you're not restricted to where there's a level spot. Usually there's a tent pad, so usually you can be closer to the lake, maybe down the shore a little bit. And I'll share one really cool hammock story in the morning. So I woke up and I didn't get out. It was just a beautiful, quiet morning. I was reading a book in my hammock, and when the weather's fine, you just have your rain flies out, so you can have great view all around you. And I'm just sitting there, and this rabbit comes just barreling by me, and that was cool. I mean, it's just right by my hammock because I'm looking right down.
Yeah.
And then a short while later, this. I'm not sure if it was a pine marten. I'm pretty sure. I'm thinking it's a pine marten.
Yeah.
Was chasing it.
Oh,
but he's going really slow.
Sure.
Just doom, 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 doom. And then a few minutes later, on the other side of the hammock, rabbit ran and. And I'm like, what a joke! Like this guy's not going to catch that rabbit, And this went on for quite a while, and so then I say quite a while, I'd say 10, 15 minutes, back and forth in the woods. I could see, and the rabbit ended up on the right side behind a rock, and this guy, comes barreling down, and I heard him kill it. I heard the squeal. And then he dragged it away.
There he goes.
He hauled it off in the woods. Like, I'll be darned. I got to I was in the middle of his hunt.
Yeah.
The whole time. And it's like, man, that was awesome. Front row seat. And he could have killed him way over there, but he was right next to me. I couldn't see him because he's right behind a rock. Yeah. But I have a picture of him peeking around the rock looking at me. But that's the kind of stuff that you get to see up there. And like when I related like in that family, I was paddling down the Fernberg Creek. This is up there, and this family of otters.
Oh yeah.
Was in the creek. It's not a real big creek. And so these babies, little guys, they kept coming up and they'd pop up right, like I'm here, and they would pop up and look at me. It was the coolest thing.
That is cool.
And the mom was so pissed at these kids. Oh, she would come and she would drag one and get them up on shore, and then she'd come and grab another one. And like you could just literally see this mom scream at her kids, like, "Don't do that!
What are you doing?" Yeah,
but that was so fun to watch. Yeah, they were just checking me out.
Yeah, that's cool. And just not far from your canoe.
No, it's right there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I got a critter story.
Yeah.
It's not really a critter, but I forgot to add the picture, but I've only seen moose once.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest experience. It was at the worst campsite that I mentioned earlier, the 1-star campsite.
1.5 now.
Yeah. Just went up a half.
Yeah. The one highlight of that trip was seeing the moose with two calves.
Yeah.
And so we were on the shore of the lake, and there was an island not too far away. And we saw the cow and the calves get in the water, swim to the island. And we were canoeing, we could have canoed right up to them, but we didn't want to be too intrusive.
Right.
And then they were on that island for a while. And then a little while later, we see them climb down and swim back. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did end up getting some pictures and videos of them, but I neglected to put them in there. But
yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, that's a cool experience for sure. This one is almost a quintessential Boundary Waters picture to me.
Yeah.
You got the water, you got the canoes, you got the pine trees, you got some rocks here, you got the fishing rods. Well, the only thing that's missing is, a campfire with some coffee on it or something. Other than that, that's almost exactly what I think of when I think of the Boundary Waters.
Yeah.
That's cool
really,
picture.
yeah. And the sky sometimes blends with the lake. And it's just, it's kind of the magical view. My routine has been over the years. So since I'm cooking usually for everybody, I eat last.
Sure.
So everybody's fed, and then I go sit out on the lake, on the shore there, and just the beauty is just breathtaking.
Yeah. This was a good picture too. I mean, I like that one as well, but
yeah,
just a classic Boundary Waters sunset,
That's what you get.
You get those a lot, and you try to appreciate them when you get them.
Yeah.
It's just a cool spot.
This one I threw in because I wasn't sure if that was a young Steve Reinanen, but I think you answered my question. I was like, it's like Steve Reinanen. Oh,
that's Rose Lake.
Steve Reinanen. That's Rose. Okay.
That's our hike, finding berries.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But the views up there are just fantastic.
That's awesome. It's really high, overlooking the lake.
Yeah.
Seen Canada on the other side.
Yeah, there's more elevation there than I would picture in my mind.
Yeah, there's some really big bluffs there.
Because I mentioned two features that I liked on that lake, and this is the other one. One is the waterfalls that you can go bathe under, and then this one is a really nice hiking trail that's got great views of the lake. Yeah,
views like that. Yeah, that almost reminds me of out west.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if this picture is gonna. Oh, there's a moose that somebody took a picture of. That picture looks a little bit older, actually, almost.
Yeah, that was on an earlier trip. The moose have been a lot harder to come by, in the last 10, 15 years for sure. That was so fun. You can see it's a big bowl.
Yeah.
And he was just eating in that bay, and I'm sure we had these, that was probably a film camera back then.
Disposable camera?
Maybe.
Did you bring those up?
Yeah, we brought those. But that was spectacular. But I remember fishing with John one year. We were coming into this bay, kind of, how you get these weedy bays, and we were just kind of going to the end, just fishing. And it looked like there were some branches, just sticking above the weeds. Well, it was a bull moose.
Oh, yeah.
And as we got close, which we were close, he stood up. Like, holy cow. We just stared at it, and he just kind of walked away. But yeah, I've had moose run past my tent at night. I've had some really good moose experiences for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't capture those on video or film. They're just like kind of a blimp.
Unless you happen to have your camera out or something or whatever.
Going back to that 1-star campsite, we had a nickname for it, and it was Moose Deuce.
Moose Deuce.
And the reason was there's a pile of moose crap right in the site. So we called that Moose Deuce.
Moose Deuce. Moose Deuce 1.5 star site.
Not recommended.
And there was another picture. I think I put a couple of those winter camping pictures in here because I wanted to ask you what that's like. That's got to be a little different. Well, here's a winter ice fishing one, maybe.
Yeah, well, fishing doesn't go away just because it's winter. It's still like when I went up there for winter camping, I still had full intentions to catch fish.
Yeah,
that was on Daniels Lake. But my first trip was to Tuscarora.
Okay,
and the snow and conditions where there's like a hard crust on top and then just slush underneath it. And I'm pulling a sled. We're in snowshoes, and the snowshoes would just get caked with ice.
That seems like a slog.
And, oh man, it was so much work. And we finally get there, and we're getting our camp set up, getting our beds made. But obviously, the priority is fish. So the first thing,
of course,
so
be reasonable here.
Yeah. So the first thing I did is I went and punched a hole and put a tip up.
Oh yeah.
And then I got busy getting camp ready, and and some time goes by, and the flag's up, and I ran out there, and there's just a ton of line gone, but no fish. I'm like, oh shoot! And I think it was Katie Tolkien, and she goes, I thought that flag was just to mark the water hole. She goes, I saw it go up.
Good idea, Mike. Yeah, marking the water hole. Good thinking. That's funny.
But,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I've got some lake trout up there. But yeah, it's more about survival than fishing for sure.
Yeah, so do you just have to, oh yeah, this was a big fish too. You just have to walk your way in on snowshoes, or
some people skied. I preferred snowshoes myself, but it was either ski or snowshoe for sure.
Yeah. How many times have you gone winter camping up there?
5.
Any desire to do it again?
No. Well,
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
Nah.
No, I did. I really wanted to have whatever kids were willing to try it. It is about as unique of an experience as I've had. And it's just, I don't know about you, Larry, but it was so unbelievably quiet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's no water. There's no leaves, wind in the leaves. It is just like, I remember walking out into the lake, to fish, and you can hear your heart just like, choom, 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 and every step was like, kaboom, kaboom. It was just like, everything was just magnified. And it was such a cool experience.
One of those silence is deafening type things. Yeah.
And I just thought it was really fun. We survived.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Everything freezes, like your feet sweat, and you got nice sorrels and stuff. But when you take them off, it's all wet, and you wake up in the morning and they're like rocks.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different deal. And I'm glad I did it. I don't think I wouldn't do an overnighter anymore, but I wish I could have brought my kids, or the ones that wanted to at least once, but yeah, you could tell them about our nice igloos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I put that in here, but I don't see it.
I don't think winter camping isn't fun. It's more of an experience.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't fun for me. I went twice, and both times it was in January, February. It was like we went when it was the historic coldest weekend of the year.
Martin Luther.
Which really isn't a good idea, because both times it got to 20 below wind chill. And when you're winter camping outside, that's really not fun. So what you end up doing is, in a snow fort is a lot better than a tent, because a tent offers nothing.
Yeah. No insulation.
So the first time we went, we thought, well, we're going to build a snow fort on the ice.
Yep.
So we shoveled a big pile and we were going to dig it out, which we did. We dug it out. and here comes the water.
Oh.
So we made a small indoor rink because it just iced over and said, well, you can't sleep in water.
Shoot.
So we had to go to plan B. But another time we went, we just rolled snowballs, made some walls and covered it up with, some wood pine boughs and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a double sleeping bag. You're sleeping in your clothes. You're zipping it all the way up, and it's survival. It's not
not true enjoyment.
Right.
Parts of it are probably like fun. Like the silence or whatever. Stuff that's cool to experience, but
uniqueness of it.
Yeah.
Right. My last trip was the closest town that I looked at. They had a minus 58.
Jeez.
And it probably was colder where we were. We're further north. And I will say that was probably the longest night I've ever had, because it was like death was swirling over your head.
Yeah.
It was double sleeping bags and double everything, and it was still miserable.
No part of that seems fun.
No.
I'm going to be honest.
No, that's why you don't go back.
That's why,
You're not winter camping 100 times.
Yeah, right.
Well, but I will say, if you're smarter and you've done it before, it helps, because it was so cold. The snow was like sugar. Like you're not going to make a snowball. It just goes apart.
Yeah.
And I did read later that if you fluff off that snow and the air will actually bond it, and you can make a shelter out of it, which I didn't think I could.
Really?
So actually I drilled, a hole, like I would for fishing, and I mixed water with snow. And so we made an ice wall.
Yeah.
And then we did the branches and a tarp and snow, but we couldn't get that door sealed very well. But we spent all day making this thing and survived the night. And the whole time we were making our shelter, these guys were out in a portable fish house fishing for lake trout. And I'm like, man, what are these guys going to do? It's getting, they're not going to make it back to the car.
Yeah.
It's many hours from the car.
Yeah.
And wake up in the morning, and there they are. They're out having coffee. They had built like a lean-to on shore. They had a little fire going, and they were outside drinking coffee and just having a good old time.
like it's no big deal.
Yeah. Like, okay.
All right.
Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny. We've gone 2 hours already, so we should probably wrap it pretty soon. But I wanted to ask you guys if you've been paying attention to the mining issue up there.
Oh.
Have you paid attention to that?
Yeah.
Before we get into that, can I tell a story on that one?
Yeah, by all means.
So this is another story I wanted to bring up. So he didn't actually catch that fish, the other guy he was with. So this is that same trip I mentioned earlier with my brother John, his son Levi, and John the boss. So this was his boss's first trip to the Boundary Waters. Never been there, didn't really know what it was about, what to do. So we were basically his guides. And so he's up in the front of the canoe. I'm in the back, and he's pulling out whatever rinky-dinkler he brought with this little red-looking crawdad-looking thing, and he catches 2 40-inch northerns, and that was one of them. And there was another picture of him holding the other one, and it's like his first trip up there, he just catches a ton of fish, 2 40-inchers. And and we had great weather. It was just a wonderful experience.
What time of year was that one?
That was in October.
Yeah.
Do you have the 48 in there?
I could swear I put it in here. I know I did, but because I told you I was going to.
Yeah, he said that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's kind of like the.
No, it's not that.
No, it's Steve.
Yeah, that's
some lake trout.
The 48-incher.
I think that was a Tuscarora trip.
That fish was incredible.
Maybe here.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. What a treat. When you're back, that was I think that was like a 7 or 10 day trip, caught early in the trip. But I remember when I hooked it, first of all, you think it's a snag.
Yeah.
Because it's just like
a log.
Like a log.
Yeah.
But that thing made it made 3 long runs where I had a bait caster.
Yeah.
I typically troll with bigger baits, and it would just start off just kind of pulling line out and go
Started screaming.
just screaming, and then you'd slowly work it back, and at this point you don't even see it. And that fish did it 3 times. I finally got it to the boat, and I had braided line and stuff. So I had good equipment for a big fish, but I went to grab it, and I couldn't really get my, like a lot of times you can grab
right behind it. Yeah.
I couldn't really get my fingers around it. And I'm like, there's no way I'm putting this in the boat. I told Steve, I said, you got to get me to shore. I said, I can't put this thing in the boat. And so, you get, you take and one thing, taking hooks out of a fish that size, their mouth is like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. Yeah. It's pretty easy to work in there. But, we took pictures, and I'm glad I did it. I took some rope, and I measured the fish.
Oh yeah.
Cause I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I know it was big.
Yeah.
And the whole time after the trip, I'm thinking, I wonder how big that was. And I'd look at the rope, and, and I did a girth and a length. And anyway, it was definitely a fish of a lifetime. So.
Yeah.
But
that's
thanks for bringing that up. That's a good memory.
It looks like a muskie almost. It's so big.
That's a big fish.
Yeah. Yeah. So those mines by Ely are southeast of Ely. Have you paid attention to that?
Well, I think the issue is, it's is it going to be Ely, south, like east?
South and east. Yeah.
East, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, they're not digging stuff out of the dirt right now, but it's proposed, and they lifted the regulations, and, to approve I think it's they basically got it to where they could approve permits now or something like that.
It goes back and forth, and a lot of lawsuits and stuff. I know it's a really emotional issue.
Yeah.
But I tend to, obviously I love the Boundary Waters.
Yeah.
I would be shocked with all the regulations they have nowadays that they would permit mining that would lead to, damage in the park like that. We're so overregulated on everything.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that would be a little bit of a stretch. And so I would say I'm not very well educated on the main issues on both sides.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how it pans out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I researched it a little bit too, and it just seems like a bad idea to me. The people that are for it, they're saying it's going to, unlock critical, metals, resources that we need they've listed just about everything, national security and green energy and all this other stuff. And the people on the other side that are against it, which perfectly honest, I'm kind of in that camp right now myself, are saying, the potential consequences are just not worth it. Because there was one website that had kind of a graphic of, because it's not in the Boundary Waters, but literally right next to it, one of the proposed sites, or whatever. And so if there is some sort of contamination or pollution, my initial thought was, well, southeast of Ely, it's going to flow towards Lake Superior, which we don't want that polluted either. But it's actually on the other side of the Laurentian Divide.
So it goes north.
And then along kind of like the south edge of the Boundary Waters and up to Lake of the Woods and Hudson Bay. And I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky issue. They call rare earth minerals for a reason. Yeah. And unfortunately, we have to rely on people we don't really like to get those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see both sides. I just I would be shocked that we would, as a people, allow damage to that park.
Yeah.
It is unique to America. Canada's got a whole country of that.
Right. Right.
We
just have a little bit of
this little chunk, and maybe
let's not mess it up.
Yeah. So Maine's got a little piece that's very similar, and obviously Alaska's got some stuff. But yeah, no, I think protecting that would be definitely a priority.
Yeah. Yeah. What else do you guys want to say about the Boundary Waters? Anything? We covered kind of a lot, but it was all good stuff.
Yeah.
We could probably go another 2 hours just telling stories.
Yeah. No, I knew that going in, because even when you're just talking with friends, you kind of get lost in. It's probably no different than deer hunters or elk hunters. If you're going out, there's a passion for it. But for anybody that hasn't been there, I would just say, what?
I've never been.
I would say if you enjoy the outdoors, even if you're not a big fisherman, that's just a part of it.
Yeah.
And actually, I learned from a tow guy a couple of years ago that in the old days, he said, probably 70, 80% of the people he gave a tow in, fishing was their number one activity. He said in the last, 5 years, it's probably down to 30% is fishing. Most people just start going camping.
Really?
Wilderness. Yeah.
And that's probably why there's a lot more people up there.
Yeah.
Because now they're just people that want to camp and not just
instead of going to the Grand Tetons, they're going to go to the Boundary Waters and have a wilderness experience. So, so I would encourage you to give it a try.
Yeah.
And, good gear makes a difference.
Yep.
It really does. If you can stay dry and eat well, that all will make a good experience. And,
don't go when the bugs are out.
Wait till later.
Yeah. I would say anything from late May to early August it'll be a one tripper.
Oh yeah. Just avoid that time.
The mosquitoes.
Yeah.
No, the DNR is going to get rid of those. Remember?
Yeah. Like that trip I brought my wife on with those girls, it was in the heart of mosquito season, and you literally could not be outside at dusk. And she kind of was looking forward to sitting around the campfire. And, like if you took a swim in the lake, you literally had to run to your tent.
Yeah.
Because it was so bad.
It does not seem fun.
No.
But
yeah.
No,
was,
one of these days, maybe I don't know. It would be fun to get up there. I'd like to go.
Yeah. There's other groups of locals that have a Boundary Waters tradition, like Jim Reinen and his boys. I know the Risenins always go up every year.
Yeah.
So there's other local pockets of seasoned Boundary Waters people too. So if you want to have a third episode, I'm sure you could round up some more.
We'll take anybody on this show.
Some more different stories and
because they have and they have different philosophies too on how they camp and and whatnot too. So it'd be interesting to kind of hear their twist on things.
Yeah.
And there isn't, I would say there isn't a right or wrong way. I mean, there's just go have fun.
I feel like it'd probably be a thing where I just got to start going, and then you learn what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And eventually you get to a point where you're like, this is how I like to do it. And
definitely.
Dr. Bonesock was, my dentist growing up, and he's a hardcore quetical guy.
Oh, hey, sure.
But he was all about mileage.
Mm.
He wanted to see as much as he
wanted
could.
to cover ground. Huh.
He told me, he goes, Mike, it's getting kind of ridiculous. I'm actually to the point now, I'm taking the tags out of my clothes just to get a little lighter. So his routine was they would break camp first thing in the morning. They never made a big breakfast, and they would pound hard, get a 10, 12 mile day in, set up camp, and then fish in the evening.
Okay.
And then move again. Every day they moved, and so for him, that was their focus and their family's focus. So completely different than mine.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it wrong. It's just
different.
Just different. Yeah. And so he was very, very light, very, very fast, and he still caught a lot of fish.
Yeah.
And he got to see a lot of cool stuff because around every corner is something new.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
there was one more thing I was going to throw out. So we talk about the Boundary Water curse, which is the wind is always in your face, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, there was one trip we went to the Knife River or Knife Lake. And it was so dreamy. It was a nice breeze at our back. We went like 12 miles, or I don't know how far.
It was more. It was like 16.
We went a long ways, and it was almost effortless. The wind was just pushing. It was sunny. It was pushing us along. It was just amazing. We got to stop at Dorothy Mulder's island too, and that's a different story. Is
that the lady that lived there?
The root beer lady.
Yeah, the root beer lady. Yeah. Yeah,
we stopped.
Yeah, I read about her.
Yeah.
So we stopped at her island and remembered Dorothy.
Yeah.
Can buy her root beer up there. And
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, one of these days I'll make it up there and report back. But
do it.
Until then, I'll just live through other people's experiences and Google reviews.
Yeah, if you take your kids, you get them hooked, and they'll want to go back.
Yeah, I think if I did, a bunch of them would like the fishing. I feel like we'd be like the start at a campground type people, and spend the first trip there maybe. Yeah, and then see if
Sawbill would be a good starting point.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say. Well, shouldn't say, but like Rose to me is the perfect starter lake, where you can do a hike, you can do waterfalls, you can do swimming, cliff jumping, and you can catch fish. I mean, there's tons of smallies in there. There's walleyes and lakers that are a little harder to come by, but it's an easy trip. You could be at your campsite in within a couple hours.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
Yeah,
something that's easy to get to, but
it's got a lot of steps.
Yeah.
Stairway. It's got a stairway.
120 stairs.
You just know that.
You count them.
You count them.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Shoot. Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys coming on. That was a very fast but enjoyable 2 hours and 26 minutes. So
thanks for having us.
Yeah,
that's great.
That was a blast. Anybody that's watching, thanks for watching or listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Grew up in the sticks, learned to hunt and fish. I fell in love with it along about 5 or 6. My old man taught me to shoot a gun, and Daddy showed me how to cast one. It's in my blood, it's in my veins. A country boy, it ain't gonna change. I love the great outdoors, I thank the Lord for where I was born. Yeah, the great outdoors, it's where I'm at when I ain't here. Yeah, the great outdoors, that's where I'll be when I leave here. I've got a Doug dog, I've got a Ranger boat, I've got a climbing stand for my marlin. 30-30, I've got a fishing pole in every corner of the room. I love the way a buck looks in the headlights. It's the first day of the rut and I know where he's at. A cold snap on a warm lake, or a warm lake on a cold snap. I love the great outdoors, I thank the Lord for where I was born. Yeah, the great outdoors, it's where I'm at when I ain't here. Yeah, the great outdoors, that's where I'll be when I leave here. I could live on the water, I could die in the woods. I know my way around, I know how to find the good stuff. I was raised to keep it simple and work for everything I've got. And I've got the great outdoors, it's where I'm at when I ain't here. Yeah, the great outdoors, that's where I'll be when I leave here. I love the great